Hey, this is Sam with Henhouse Coaching, where we believe you can build a business that builds your marriage. And I just wanted to shoot this video as I'm driving home from working out on campus. We're doing a little competition, and I just completed part of it. It's split up into parts. So you can tell I'm the kind of guy that gets really red in the face and stays that way for a good while after a workout. But yeah, I really beat my butt. I'll post what I did and the times I got down in the description so you can see what I did. I won't bother you with the details right now, but I wanted to relate my experience now with a thought I had having completed that first half of the competition. My trainer, he was telling me, well, I asked him when all was said and done if he had to guess how many calories I burned in that 40 minutes of going hard with a rest between. And he said probably about like 300 calories at least in 40 minutes. And if you come from my point of view, where 300 calories doesn't sound like a lot when you're talking about food, it's a lot when you're talking about working out. That's a good bit of energy expended in a relatively short amount of time. And it got me thinking afterwards, as I was just struggling to catch my breath. A lot of business coaches, relationship coaches, they will express the sentiment that life is not a sprint, it's a marathon, right? Building a business is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Building a marriage is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Well, for me, having learned to be much more assertive than my partner, Miranda, I catch myself wanting things to be more of a sprint than a marathon. And having worked my guts out in this past hour, it gave me a new perspective in the thought that life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And even if it were a sprint, you wouldn't want it to be. You wouldn't want it to be a sprint, at least for very long. And so, while I'm sure plenty of you are more, you would test on the DISC profile assessment as more of a C, which is a more conscientious type, more of a systems creator and method and routine adherer. You'd much prefer a slow, consistent improvement and growth. For me, I've learned more to ride the waves of productivity as they come. So there may be times where I get a burst of inspiration. It's not that I wait for those bursts on their own. It's not the only time I'm productive, but when I do feel that burst of creativity or inspiration or motivation, to say the least, I try to capitalize on that as much as I can. And so in that sense, I see that there are many sprints throughout the marathon. And in fact, not that I'm a distance runner or anything, but I'm sure some of you may know or know personally about strategies to distance running and what metaphors you could draw from that in life. So I come to you with a red blotchy face, having heaved and huffed and puffed for about an hour now, recovering from this brutal workout competition that I did, to say, if you find yourself in a sprint in life, in one particular category, or you feel that it's all over the place, you feel pulled in every which direction, and either you're physically or emotionally, psychologically, mentally huffing and puffing to catch a breath, to pace yourself, I'd say push through, but also know that life in this point in time, it's part of a greater effort. It's part of a marathon. And I'd encourage you, as for those of you who are in a committed relationship as a couple, check in with not just yourself, but with each other. Where do you feel emotionally, energy-wise? Are you feeling stressed out? Are you the kind of person that doesn't talk about these things very openly? Are you the kind of person that tries to vent in communicating, and perhaps even over communicating? And well, I would say to ruminate. Ruminate is a better word, because I think sometimes we need to be over communicative to make sure we are understood, that the other understands us. But are you ruminating on the same problem, or is the same problem coming up over and over, and have you yet to get to the root of that issue? And that's why it keeps popping up. And that's one of the central themes that Miranda and I hit on with our coaching, is that whether it's in business or your relationship or somewhere else, maybe even as a parent, if there is a recurring problem that has at least loosely similar triggers that create the issue, and then similar reactions from you or from your partner, it would seem to me that you have yet to get to the root of the problem. And I'll tell you that we experienced this already. I mean, with Pat being 2 years old, he's, I don't want to say terrible twos, but getting cooped up in the house with cold weather, it's hard to get out at this point. Things are warming up, but he gets a little stir crazy. And for me, it can be really easy to just go with my knee-jerk reaction when Pat acts a little crazy, climbs all over and hits Miranda. And I'm not going to say she's a pushover or anything, but it's not how I would handle it, right? So she's handling it in the way she would handle it, but it's not the way I would handle it. And so I feel totally frustrated by that. If you feel like maybe this is how you feel with parenting right now, if you're in that position, maybe you're new in your marriage and things aren't being done the way you'd like them to be done. Part of that is part of growing up, because there's more than one way to resolve a problem, whether it's in a relationship or a business. And part of maturity is being humble enough to explore those different options and let them play out, to have patience. And maybe I'm just speaking from a more assertive point of view, more commanding point of view, where I like things done the way I want them done. But maybe this is the bottom, or maybe it's part of the final diagnosis, is that comes down to, well, humility, but trust as well. You have to trust that there's more than one right way to get things done. In fact, the solution, the outcome you may want, may not even be the best solution. There may be another way to get it done. And whether it's having a toddler behave more politely, help them socialize better, and get them prepared to socialize more frequently with members of their own peer group, so that others want to play with them. Whether it's I'm building a business, and maybe right now it's just me on my own mostly, and my spouse sort of helps me out, or is like in the emotional stakeholder. Maybe she or he is more actively involved, but we don't see eye to eye on things. Whether it's we've gotten to the point where it's grown beyond just me, it's grown beyond just me and my partner. We're taking on employees, or at the very least we're starting to contract work out, and we're building a team. I need to trust that others can find an optimal solution with my input, but it doesn't have to be just me. So, coming back to the idea of life is not a sprint, and you wouldn't want it to be. You don't want life to be a sprint. I would say think small today. When you hear this, think small about something that I could choose differently. If I get caught up in another trigger of mine that causes me to be frustrated or to speak out without self-awareness, or trying to get that itch scratched of I want my spouse to know that I'm judging her, which I will admit that's come out of my mouth before, or it's innocuous enough but the tone suggests judgment. Catch yourself there. Find some self-awareness, and maybe you could stop yourself before you do it, or maybe the self-awareness comes after it's already been said or done. But just tell yourself and give yourself space to believe that there's room and time for improvement. The numbers I put up doing the workout I did today, it's best that I could have done today compared to other people who are competing in this workout. Yeah, probably like bottom to below average, but I've only been doing this for less than a year, and I brought with me all my other not so great habits of health and fitness. And so this, for me, this is just a time for the scrapbook, right? I'm gonna have those numbers forever. Like, I did that, and it's going to improve. So whether it's physical fitness, whether it's emotional connectedness and maturity, or business leadership, take today for what it is, and I promise you, if you just accept that for all the mistakes you've made, for all the below average effort, the below average output that you produced for today, it gives you a benchmark for greater performance tomorrow. Life is not a sprint, and you wouldn't want it to be. So consider these things. Let me know what you think. What was something that stood out to you? How does this apply to you today, right now, to your business, to your relationship? Let me know in the comments, and we will continue to help you here on the channel, posting things about business, about relationships, about growth, and making sure that you can create a lifestyle, including entrepreneurship, that fits you, that you can have a successful business, a successful relationship, a successful family. You don't have to give up a happy marriage for the sake of career, and you don't have to give up career for a happy marriage. You can have both. It just takes creativity and patience and a willingness to try things out. So again, this is me, Sam, with Henhouse Coaching, and I will see you in the next video.